Good afternoon. Welcome to the Labor Forum. You are listening to WRFG 89.3 FM in Atlanta. My name is Diane Mathowitz. I am a retired auto worker and the host and producer of this program for about the last 3.5 years. I want to, of course, acknowledge the song that always starts this program off because it so fits so well what we do here on the Labor Forum, and that is all the people who do the work, who are responsible for keeping society running. We want to both uplift them, value what they do, and talk about the issues that plague their lives and that just are unfair and unjust. So again, this is the Labor Forum on WRFG. The opinions that are expressed on the program are not necessarily those of the Board of Directors, staff, or volunteers here at WRFG. I just realized I forgot to tell you who sang that song. It was John Fromer, and it comes from a CD of the same title. I was so busy telling you how great a song it was, I forgot to tell you who sang it. He both sang it and wrote it, and John unfortunately died about a year ago, but his song is just perfect for this program. So before I start today, I was just heartbroken to hear some news about the death of Chokwe Lumumba. Many people throughout the South in this country know him for being a fearless lawyer in defense of people who have been wronged and framed by right-wing and racist forces. He was a freedom fighter. He was a well-spoken man, and he was elected mayor of the city of Jackson, Mississippi last year. He took office in the summer. He wasn't in office more than 6 or so months, 7 months, and he unfortunately died yesterday. And this is a tremendous loss to working and poor people everywhere, because he was engaged in trying to build in Jackson, Mississippi in particular, a real sense of people's decision-making and involvement in running that city, and essentially taking it out of the hands of corporate interests and those who only see the value of making money and not providing for human rights and a decent life for everyone. So we want to offer, WRFG and the Labor Forum, we want to offer our condolences to all those in Jackson, Mississippi, and certainly all the family and friends of Chokwe Lumumba. Today, here in the studio, I'm joined by two members, two activists, two workers with AFSCME Local 1644, and they've got an incredible story to tell. I actually met Javis Davis, who is seated on the far right of me, at a forum that they had this past Saturday, and I was actually shocked. I sometimes think, how can I be shocked when I hear about mistreatment of workers and just the sleazy dealings of corporations? But I was shocked about hearing some of the stories coming from the workers who work at the Atlanta public school system, particularly in the cafeteria, and that's what Javis does. He works, he's a cafeteria worker and works for the company Sodexo. Hi, Javis. Welcome to the Labor Forum.
Hi, good afternoon.
And then we also are joined by Sylvia Glass, and Sylvia is an organizer with Local 1644. She originally came out of the home care worker campaign, and she now is an organizer, and that means she helps workers who want to have a union, and then she helps workers try to negotiate the contracts. Welcome to the Labor Forum.
Thank you.
Okay, so let me just start right away with Javis Davis. Could you talk a little bit about, many people have heard all about the cheating scandal. We know much about the pressure that's put on teachers, that was put on staff at these schools to raise the test scores, and we've heard about, the kind of mismanagement, if we'll call it that, for a certain goal, which doesn't have so much to do with the well-being of the students. Now, at this forum that you all had, I heard about other kinds of issues at the Atlanta public schools, again, very much related to privatization of tasks or jobs which means that schools become a source of profit for a corporation. So if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit, first off, how long have you been a cafeteria worker and at what school? And then we'll go into a little bit about what these issues are that not just you, but many cafeteria workers raised at this meeting.
Oh, well, first off, I'd just like to say that I'm a proud worker of Sodexo. I've been there working for the Atlanta School Public System for about 10 years. And during the 10 years, I've worked at a multiple amount of schools. This year, I'm proud to be at the elementary school of Mary McLeod Bethune, located over at Northside Drive. During the years that I've been here, I've experienced many controversies within the system with both workers, management, and some schools. Some of the conditions that we are facing now, dealing with like insect or roach or rodent problems, things inside the school that shouldn't be amongst the school for the health reasons or health purposes of our kids. The main focus and the reason we have a job is because we have kids that attend school that we have to feed every day. And if the conditions of the school or some of the conditions of its workplaces are not consistent with its health codes, or just violations of this and that, the rodents, the rats, the roaches, the ants, cause a very annoying problem for both health problems and an annoyance for the workers that are here.
So I think the thing we don't want to let's see what I'm going to say. We want to uplift education, public education. We want to have every child have a safe, clean school with good, nutritious food and excellent teachers. That's our goal.
That is our goal.
That is our goal. All right. And so again, without going into a lot of detail, but nevertheless, the way I understand it is from that meeting was that at a certain point, the Board of Education of Atlanta Public Schools decided to subcontract out food service to this company called Sodexo.
Yes.
And this is a big company.
Yes, it is.
This is a probably billion-dollar company, and it's worldwide.
It's worldwide.
Okay, so we're not talking about mom and pop who can't afford things. Mm-hmm. We're talking about rolling in dough, big corporation.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so at this certain point, the Board of Education decided to do this, and so now there's a whole group of workers who work at different schools who are Sodexo employees.
Yes.
Now, can you tell me, in your opinion, if you know, or make a guesstimate, out of all the schools in the Atlanta public school system, are the majority Sodexo workers, 50-50, or only a little bit?
Well, in my opinion and my knowledge of what I know, there's a great deal of Sodexo workers in the Atlanta public school system that yet we all work side by side, doing the same job on a daily basis to provide nutritious meal for our kids so they can have a very bright day. It's times when some of the kids are unable to eat in their own homes. I have a lot of kids in my school, particularly that belong to shelters or just a poor family, unfortunate families that on some days the only meal that they receive is the breakfast or the lunch that Sodexo Atlanta Public School provides for them. And so with that being said, I know for a fact that it's our job as cafeteria workers to provide with a smile on our face daily a nutritional meal, a healthy love for our kids. I have 7 kids of my own, and every time I'm away from my kids while they're at their school, I have kids to take their place in a sense, to walk into a line, to ask for a meal. Some ask for extra. I have no ordeal or no defiance against going against the kids because some kids are just hungry, and that's my job to feed them and make sure they're happy.
Okay, so again, our listeners may be a little puzzled about this. So in the Atlanta public school system, the majority, let's say, majority of the workers in the cafeterias are employed by this big company called Sodexo. And then there are other workers doing the same kind of work who are employed by the Atlanta public school system.
Correct.
Now, here's the question.
Okay.
Is there a difference in wages, benefits between folks doing the exact same work, but some employed by a private for-profit company and some employed by the Atlanta public school system, paid for by tax dollars?
Yes, in my belief, and yes, there is a different pay scale. Now, how different the pay scale is, I can't discuss because I'm not factually with that in numbers. But I do know there is a separation, and with that separation of the company and the school system itself, there's a gap that divides us sometimes, to make it seem as one is a little better than the other. But in all, we're all doing the same job. We're all having the same work hours. We have the same conditions and have to deal with the same problems on a daily basis. But in some instances, sometimes it seems as though we're in a separate organization.
Sylvia, I'm going to bring you in here real quick before we take the break. So, as an organizer for Local 1644, and these issues that are coming up about differences in pay, differences in benefits, differences, but as Javis said, all of these workers are facing the issues of trying to fix good food with expired food and not quality food, and then of course the issues of the sanitary conditions of the kitchens and the places where the food is stored. Can I ask you just real quick how it is that the union, the AFSCME Local 1644, is trying to deal with this issue, and how are you presenting it to the Atlanta School Board and to parents and the community?
We presented it this weekend at a town hall attended by 6 of the 9 board members, and over 100 workers were in attendance. And it's a really beautiful story. The Sodexo workers literally walked into the office unannounced and uninvited because they were so concerned about harming these children and being put in between a rock and a hard place that they walked in our office and sort of said, we need attention and we need to talk to you right now. And we had to jump in with both feet and do something for them. So we're advocating, we are holding meetings, and we are actually putting together a report to present to the school board of our findings from the Georgia County Health Department, and in some cases the border schools, the DeKalb County Health Department, some of those schools kind of border. And we are going to present that on April 7th at 6 p.m. to the board meeting.
Okay, we're not taking a short break. My engineer Sonia just wagged her finger at me and said no. All right, so we're just going to keep on going. All right, so I want to ask this question. Let me get this clear because I'm not clear. So the people who are Atlanta Public School employees, they're the members of 1644.
AFSCME 1644 actually represents both Sodexo and APS employees.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so the Sodexo workers are also unionized.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I wasn't sure about. Well, good news.
Yeah.
All right.
Sodexo is the only one operating up on the contract. And we operate up under the contract as while the Atlanta Public School System operates up under the Atlanta Public School System, all consisting of the same details.
Right, there's 2 separate rules at play and 2 separate benefit packages. So APS employees receive sick days, pension, benefits, and Sodexo employees do not receive that. On the other end, Sodexo employees do have a stronger contract with binding arbitration, and APS employees are subject to the civil service codes. Yes.
Wow, what a pickle. In a certain sense.
Yeah. Real sour, huh? What's the deal?
What's the deal?
Everything's not coaching.
Right. So obviously the Sodexo workers, who are the majority of the cafeteria workers, are anxious wanting a resolution of this, because regardless of who your employer is, and that goes for everybody else who's out there, whether you're working a minimum wage or whatever job, there's no break when you go to the store or to pay your rent that says, oh, gee, you only make minimum wage, let me lower your rent. So everybody has to pay the same out in the world. And so I guess, let me ask Javis another question about this. Now, one of the big issues that's taking place at the Capitol right now is over this issue of unemployment compensation for school workers. And these are the workers that are, in fact, employed by a subcontracting organization like First Transit for bus drivers, or like the bus driver that was here yesterday, MB Transportation, or Sodexo or Aramark, or any of those. They have the contracts at all the different, at everything from universities and colleges and grade schools to hospitals and just all over the place. So I need some clarification again. So when the APS, okay, when summertime comes and the school isn't functioning, is there a difference between APS and Sodexo workers in terms of being able to get unemployment under what is current, not talking about what they're trying to do?
Yes, APS employees receive compensation throughout the year, much like teachers do, where they can have a portion of their paycheck held back so that they have a stable income throughout the 12-month period. Sodexo employees are not entitled to that. So they have been denied unemployment, and they recently won it after a 2-year fight. And there's proposals in the House right now, in the state legislature, to take that away from them.
Right. Those of you who are frequent listeners to the Labor Forum know that we've had a conversation about this legislation, which is attempting to codify a decision that was made by Mark Butler, Secretary of Labor, 2 years ago, where he just arbitrarily changed a pattern or a rule that had been in place for decades, which allowed what are called, school workers who get laid off for summer months and vacations, to apply for unemployment. And we have to talk about this because many of these workers are low-wage workers. We are not talking about some big unemployment check.
That is right.
We are talking about really a bare minimum unemployment check. But nevertheless, when Mark Butler did this 2 years ago, it caused such hardship among so many thousands of Georgian workers all across the state, from school crossing guards to maintenance people to cafeteria workers, bus drivers. Many people lost their homes, lost their cars, got way behind, had utilities shut off. So that, were you one of the people who lost your unemployment during that period, John?
No, thank the Lord. I was able to maintain through the blessings that was provided for me, to be able to maintain the stability of my children and my home. My unemployment right now is not running because we're working, but fortunately I hadn't had any problems. I don't look forward to any problems. And then unfortunately I've had friends or co-workers that had to suffer through not receiving unemployment, or if they received their unemployments during the time we had the challenges going on, was a letter that they had to pay the IRS or had to pay the state back the wages that was awarded to them maybe a year or two ago. And so in that case, yeah, I'm blessed.
All right. Well, but nevertheless, I think the issue kind of is that on every hand, it seems as though there's just a constant attack on the living standards of workers. There's a constant demand to do more with less. Now, I'm going to mention this again. I don't know the sister's name, but there was a woman at the program on Saturday who talked about whatever school she's at. She feeds 200 plus kids for breakfast and 350, I think she said, for lunch. And she had 2 people beside herself to do all that. So I want to talk a little bit about, I guess, staffing.
Okay.
I mean, part of what happens when a for-profit organization becomes engaged in feeding kids at a school is they have to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have to figure out the ways to cut things so that they make money.
That's right. They're doing a good job of it.
Okay, so I want you to talk a little bit about the ways that you've personally seen about those cutting corners. Because people talked about how sometimes you don't have enough cleaning supplies.
Mm-hmm.
People talked about how there's expired and bad food. People talked about not enough staff. So if you've got any personal stories about that, please go right ahead.
Well, on a personal note, as far as staffing, I've always been comfortable in all of the schools that I participated in for the kids. And there have been times where we've been understaffed and I have to work the cafeteria by myself along with just the manager, cooking for 200 or 300 students at a time. And knowing what you're doing or the educational background that you have will allow you to do that. But there's a lot of employees that are employed that do not have a background of utilizing a kitchen or being able to use the equipment that's there for you to make do for your day. I've trained employees that had the slightest idea of what they're doing other than putting the ice in a bucket. I've had to train them to build a stew or to build a gravy to temp, you know, your logging meats. And it's
so
a real challenging thing.
Essentially part of the issue is the training process. In other words, they're hiring folk and then they have you train them on the job while you have to do your job too.
Let me say a personal issue that I have had in this company is that I look back over my life and I realize that I'm thankful for the opportunity to have a job in society these days. But after 10 years of being in this workforce, been 10 years in this workforce and have no extra steps to climb on this ladder, it's kind of frustrating. Yet we stick and do what we have to do on a daily basis for not just our security, but the concerns of the kids. We love what we do. I take home a check that's not much of a check, but I'm proud of what I'm doing because I make do with what I do. The Lord has blessed me, as I've said. The conditions, there's need for raises. There's need for more hours on the job. There's a need for more workers in the cafeteria on certain levels. Some of your high school students maybe have 1,000 students in their building, and you have 5 or 6 workers. That's a real tedious task to prepare over and over again for so many people. At the same time you're cooking, you're serving. At the same time you're serving, you're cleaning. At the same time you're cleaning, you're preparing your way home. And sometimes you don't get there on time.
I want to conclude our interview. I want to thank you both for coming in, but I want to give Sylvia an opportunity to talk about this meeting that's upcoming, and also if there's ways that those of you who've listened to this program and those of you who are watching it on YouTube, I always have to let you know that you can actually see the people who are being interviewed here at WRFG if you go to the Labor Forum YouTube channel. But some more information about how the community can weigh in on the issues of the cafeteria workers and the issues concerning nutritious food and how to get a Sodexo in particular, you know, to come up to the right mark.
Absolutely. Well, one of the common threads that all the workers have, regardless of whether they're Sodexo or APS or even transportation employees, is they want this to mean something. They want this to be bigger and broader than it has been before. Atlanta Public Schools has gone through a really difficult period, and we feel like we're at a prime moment in the development of the school district, that we have a new and vibrant board, and we can really set forth some positive changes that make it better for kids and workers to come. So we are attending a meeting, and those interested could come out and support. on Monday, April 7th at 6 p.m. And if they have any questions, they could call our office at 404-472-0028.
Go ahead and do that one more time, Sylvia,
Sure.
the phone number.
404-472-0028.
Now, do you all have a website or a Facebook page?
We do, and forgive me for not knowing it off the top of my head.
Well, I'm going to guess. Ask me 1644.
I bet if you Googled local 1644, it would come up. So, yes.
All right. In the last minute or two, do either one of you, I'll start with you, Sylvia, is there any kind of other message you just want to give to the listeners and the viewers about the benefit, about the reason why workers in school systems, wherever, should have a union?
I think I'm struck by the passion of folks like Javis, who has children that call him uncle and dad, and the workers that came in to the office. Again, it was so moving because these are their children that they feed, and it's their grandchildren. So this is more than just a job for them. This is not a meaningless paycheck to them. They really do care about the children of Atlanta, and they really do want to provide for them. So they come from an honest place of being motivated by all the right reasons. For having this change. And as we all know, sometimes the best way to take care of a child is to take care of a parent and take care of that caregiver, because you cannot run them into the ground and then expect them to perform 100% for these kids. And Atlanta's kids deserve nothing better, and neither do these workers. So.
I wanted to say that there were also, at this meeting, there were some of the Atlanta public school bus drivers who all were hailed as heroes, and of course many of the cafeteria workers too, workers who walked back to the schools and who stayed in the schools where the places where the kids had to stay overnight. And I just want to applaud and thank all of the workers, regardless of where you are and what you do, but the Javis and the others at the Atlanta public school system certainly deserve a living wage. They deserve respect. Yes. For the work they do, and the entire community will be much better off for it if we all respect the work. So I want to thank both of you again. We've been listening to Javis Davis,
Stan,
and Sylvia Glass, both of whom are with AFSCME Local 1644. And we'll be back again next Tuesday and Wednesday, 4:30 to 5. Please do tune in and go online and mobile app and watch it on the YouTube.
And remember, if you don't stand for something, you're bound to fall for anything.
Thank you. And with those words, we're out.
Thank you.